Every time I think I find the perfect mini NAS for my mini racks, another company seems to introduce something that might be better. And LincStation sent me this after my last video on mini NASes saying, this is the one. And it might be. I don't know. It's another Intel. I think this is N150 based. It has two 2.5-inch SATA slots in the front here. I think, yeah, you pop that down and then pull these trays out. So that's 2 for that. And that's kind of a fun little mechanism right there. And then on the bottom side, there's slots for 4 NVMe SSDs. So this might be the most dense storage NAS for all SSD storage that I've seen so far, based on the Intel N100/N150. And supposedly, this is a 10 gigabit network connection. Now, I don't think that the chipset is going to get 10 gigabits. We're not going to be copying a gigabyte per second through here. But if it can do 500 megabytes per second, that'd be pretty darn good. Let's just check really quick for reference. Does this even fit? Yeah, that fits perfectly. So this could be, assuming performance is good, it doesn't have to be amazing, but assuming it's good enough, this could be the perfect mini NAS. It fits within 1U of rack space, it fits widthwise, and assuming that the thermals are good and it pulls air in the front and out the back or something like that, then I think we'd be good to go. It'd be nice if there was a way to mount this. There's no screw holes, so maybe a custom 3D printed mount. But it looks like this could be the ticket. For now, I'm going to put these 4 crucial P310s inside, and I went all out and bought 4 terabytes. I was thinking through this, like I could survive with, you know, like 6 terabytes in RAID Z1. But if I have more space, I won't have to worry about it for a few more years, even if I rip more Blu-rays into my NAS. For most NASes, you're going to be spending more on your storage than on the box itself. So the main thing is the box itself shouldn't overheat, and it should perform to whatever standard you want. For me, I'd like it to get at least 250 megabytes per second. If it gets 500, that'd be amazing and great. But if it can sustain 250 and do things like light transcoding with Jellyfin, I'm set. I didn't even look at what else is in the box here. I don't need anything really, but there is a manual. There's an Unraid key activation. So there's an activation code under here, I guess, if you want to use Unraid. I'm not going to use Unraid on here. I think LincPlus might even have a custom OS build or something like that. If you want that, that's great. And I guess that could be a nice value if you want 1 year free of Unraid with this thing. But it comes with a power cable, with a little AC adapter. This is 12 volts at 5 amps, so 60 watts. That should be enough for most storage setups that you'd have. It feels weighty enough. It says it's UL listed, so there's also a little bag with a screwdriver. And, oh, there's just loose screws in here. Okay, so these must be the 2.5-inch SSD screws. So I wish they had a little baggie for that, because now I can't put them back in here. They'll fall out. So I'll just grab one of my little baggies and put these in. Now those won't run away. And I don't need the screwdriver, so I'm going to toss that. And I'm not going to read the manual. I'm just going to assume that we just pop these off and put these in. So let's see what we have going on here. You just pull down and that's it. That was easy. Ha! That's pretty nice. And these are metal. So these metal heat sinks should pull the heat off of the M.2 drives pretty well. They have an integrated little heat pad here. It doesn't look like it makes full contact with all the heat shield, but it's good enough. We'll see how the thermals go later. But you just pull this off, and then you have a thermal pad. So that's nice. This is a completely toolless install. So you just push these up and pop the drives in, and then when you're done, that's it. Same thing over here, 2 slots. There's no markings for what PCI Express speeds all of these are. And what is this guy? That's odd. There's like this little, looks like a USB key. I'm gonna see if I can finagle that out of here. Yeah, what is this? Look at that, it says 4 gigabytes. I guess this is like a boot volume, maybe for Unraid, I'm not sure. It's a strange design decision. It has a little USB plug right there. So this is installed right here, and that is one of the strangest things I've seen. I don't know what that is, but maybe it's in the manual. Without drives installed, these are kind of moving around a little bit, but I think once we get the drives in, the pressure will keep them not moving around. Not that that's much of a concern with something that's going to be stationary. But let's see, designed by LincPlus in Germany, assembled in China. Okay, let's get these drives open without slicing our fingers open as well. I decided to go with Crucial P310s because they seemed to have a good balance between reliability, speed, good reviews, and price. And they're Gen 4, which is overkill for the system, but you know, if I'm going to reuse them in another system someday, I can do that. But it doesn't matter where I install these, I don't think, because they're all the same and they're all going to go in the same storage pool. So if I do that, that is easy. I like this mechanism. So this NAS is not cheap. It's not one of the cheaper ones, but you can tell that when you don't cheap out, you can do nice things like have a good toolless mechanism for everything. Like I have not needed to use a tool for anything except for removing this weird USB drive over here. They're labeled 0, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully those numbers match up to the drive numbering in like the PCI Express bus. I'm not sure if they will or not, but took off the little cover there and now this is not moving around. So it is making contact, and hopefully that's a good amount of contact to get the heat off of the M.2 drives. There we go. That was one of the quickest drive installs I've ever done. Before we boot it up, I guess I should go through the ports. There's a audio jack, 3.5 millimeter, that's fun. A reset button, HDMI, USB 3.2, and then USB 2.0. It's very nice that they label these things. They're kind of faint in there, but I'm glad that they label them regardless. The LAN port, Ethernet, that should be 10 gigabits, and then DC power input. It looks like there's a couple screws back here so you could remove the system and get to everything else in it. I don't think there's anything user serviceable inside, but I don't know. I'll link to any other reviews I see that might have any more interesting stuff for that, but I am not interested in that. I just want this to be a NAS appliance that works for me. That's my goal, and so far, just based on the setup and the hardware, I'm happy with it, but the proof is in the pudding. How does it work? Before I get to testing this thing, I actually noticed when I opened this, there's another USB-C port here, and I believe that's 10 gigabits. So that could be useful if you wanted an extra 2.5 gig network interface, or just doing backups to an external drive or something like that. But that's hidden under this little door. Oop. That's hidden under this little magnetic door. And there's also some lights here, and I think there's some lighting effect under here too. I don't know how all that works or what it's supposed to do, but we'll see. I have it plugged into an HDMI plug to my little recorder up to my screen, and that requires power from USB. I'll plug this into my 10 gigabit network and see how that runs. And I'm going to run TrueNAS. I'm flashing it to a drive down there. I'm going to put TrueNAS on here. From what I've read online, the little USB drive that's inside this thing has Unraid installed on it, and apparently that Unraid installation is like tied to that little flash drive's unique identifier. So if you're going to remove that, I guess make sure you back it up if you ever want Unraid to run. Yeah, I don't deal with licensing on my NASes, so I don't know how all that stuff works. Maybe I'll just take that thing out and put it in a little baggie or something. Anyway, let's get TrueNAS going on here. Okay, while I'm flashing this thing, let's choose the right bit of media here. I guess the 3.2 Gen 1, yeah, 1 terabyte. While that's flashing, I guess I should show the price for this thing is $429. I think for Kickstarter they had a lower price, but this is the final retail, well, this is the discounted retail price. I don't know if it's ever going to be $500. I think around $400 is a good price for this system. $300 would be nicer, but $400 is like, I mean, it's a full NAS, and that's you pay for the ability to have one of these things preset for you with some pretty good hardware. Paying an extra $100 over some other solution for something that fits your needs exactly, that's not something I'm gonna complain about. If this was $1,000, yeah, that's a terrible deal. But $300 to $400, good price range. $429, it's a little much. $500, I don't think this is worth it anymore, being an Intel N100 build. If it had a faster processor, maybe, you know. But one other thing that they also had emailed me about was this LincOS. They were like, can you please use this in your video? First of all, I don't do anything that vendors ask me to do in videos. So if you're a vendor watching this, don't, you know, I'm not going to do things that you'd like me to do, I'm going to take your hardware and do things that I think people would be interested in seeing me do. Anyway, LincOS, it's a storage OS. It looks like their answer to like ADM or you know, Synology Disk Manager, whatever the different NAS vendor OSs are. And you know, I found down here it says, choose us, trust earned. The funny thing is I had never heard of LincOS. I think this is like in beta right now, and I don't know anything about it. It's not really, it doesn't have a history online or anything, so I don't know if you can say trust earned before an OS is even like out there. If you want to run it, that's fine with me. I'm just going to do TrueNAS though. All right, I got power, 10 gigabit networking. I have the HDMI recorder plugged in. I have a keyboard plugged in. I have TrueNAS on this USB stick and HDMI out to here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and see what happens. There is a fan, which I suspected as much, but when it boots up, you hear it kind of ramp up. It sounds kind of plasticky, but then it ramps down. So that's nice. And then there's some lights here for S1, S2, M1 to M4, and then network. And so far, not seeing anything on the screen here. So it's booting TrueNAS, and the LEDs on the front are just blinking. I don't know if they are software controlled or what, but hopefully they don't just blink forever. And it looks like the strip on the bottom is all RGB. And it's booting into blind mode. I don't know exactly how that works. There's a piece of dust flying around on the screen. Okay, well, it's sitting here on booting into blind mode forever, so I'm going to shut this down, and I'm going to see if I can get into BIOS. Oh, here we go, we're in it. Here's the BIOS. It's saying 4800 megahertz on the memory, 16 gigabytes. Looks like there is fan control, so you can set different settings to make it quieter or get more performance out of it, so that's nice. Okay. Here we go, start installation. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, this time it looks like it's working. I don't know what was going on the last time, but man, my face is blown out here. I don't know what the deal is there. But yeah, here we go, install upgrade. We'll do that. We're going to install it on the internal eMMC storage. Okay. Now it will install TrueNAS. And it could not find partition number 2. Let's try this again. I tried twice to format the eMMC drive, and it's saying it's failed to find partition number 2. Huh, this is interesting. Someone else had the exact same problem on LincStation N2. So apparently this eMMC is like set into some sort of read-only mode. And the solution for that is to go into shell and type in sed-i s/tries equals 30. So we're taking tries 30 and switching it to tries 130 times. Tries equals 130 user, whoops, lib python 3. Okay, and then exit, install. There we go. So it just needed to wait a little bit longer. That's kind of weird, but if it's weird and it works, it's not too weird, I guess. So thank you especially to Borja and Dave Devos for posting these things that I found online. And it looks like the installation has succeeded, and I can remove the installation media and proceed with setup. So I'll shut down, I'll reboot, and we can remove this now. Yeah, get out of there. Okay, I've taken out this drive, which had the installer on it, and when it rebooted, it's going into unraid. So hold on while that starts up, and then I'm going to, I think I'll just remove that little USB drive that's underneath. So here's one slightly annoying thing. I'm trying to remove this cover, and it seems like the thermal pad has kind of adhered itself to the drives, and it's very hard to get it off. I don't know if you can see in there, but I'm going to have to kind of squish it around a bit. Oh, it came off okay, but yeah, it was definitely stuck on there pretty well. Extraction complete. Okay, it says no suitable video mode found, booting in blind mode. I don't know why there's no suitable video mode. Maybe it just doesn't have drivers for the N100's GPU or something. But I noticed the top is getting a little bit warm, so it does look like there's a heatsink up in there. You can see really clearly there's like a T-shaped heatsink. I guess it goes around where the drive bays are. And it's not super hot, but I could feel the warmth in the middle of the box. 35 degrees Celsius. Not too bad. You can see that there's some heat in the bottom there. I'm guessing it pulls it through and then blows it out the back here. So under load, is it going to throttle? I don't know. It looks like they're dissipating some heat right through the top and the rest of it is getting blown out the back. And that's fine. So yeah, things down there are even hotter. All my networking equipment, it's like the sun. Okay, we're in. So now I should be able to set up TrueNAS on the web interface. So I wasn't recording any of that setup on this camera, but yeah, we're getting 800 to 900 megabytes per second write speed and over a gigabyte per second reads, which is better than I expected coming out of an Intel N100 box. Good job to LincOS on setting this thing up and configuring everything correctly out of the gate. That's not always something that happens, but when you're paying 400 plus bucks for this thing, then you expect some of those things to be better than the cheap stuff that you get on Amazon or AliExpress. But yeah, we're copying 200 gigabytes. The core temps are above 80 as they're being utilized more. And it's probably going to hit a little bit of throttling. And ZFS is definitely caching all this stuff as we're writing it, but it's still copying at 800 to 900 megabytes per second. So consider me impressed. I was expecting to get like 600 to 700 megabytes per second. Getting over 800 megabytes per second on this thing is actually, in a crazy way, that's faster than I was getting on this guy down here. This is the Asus Store flash store, the first generation. The second generation is probably faster, but the first gen, I've been using it as a little backup device for my computers here, and this is seriously impressive. And you could probably get a little bit more if you set up jumbo frames. So that was pretty good. And the fan speed is still what it was during most of that copy. I will let you listen to it from the front here. And it does look like those LEDs actually match up to what's connected inside. I don't know if they blink. Let me try copying back and see if they actually blink. And they aren't blinking. So I don't know how that works, but at least the lights are showing that it's connected, I guess. And then that thing underneath is kind of just pulsating blue. It's not loud. This is, so far we're looking like this might be the perfect mini NAS for my mini rack. I'm happier than I thought I'd be. Even though it's a bit expensive, if you pay that price and you get something that's worth it, that's not too bad. One thing I did notice, these trays feel pretty flimsy. I'm not a super huge fan of this, and I think that the front of these is kind of like glued on. They also attract fingerprints pretty easily. Someone else had mentioned that they bought one of these and the front little pull-out tray part had broken off of theirs and they had trouble getting it out. So that is something that, you know, on a $400 device, how good should these be? I don't know. If you buy one of these, I guess be careful with these. Be careful with this little tray too. It just feels a little flimsy. It feels like one of those trays that after a few years, one side's gonna pop out and then the other side will pop out. Then you lose the tray. Not the end of the world. It's not functional as far as I can tell. I don't think it's there for airflow, but it does. If you have it down, it seems like it might block a little bit of airflow. I'm not sure, but I am happy with this. This was. I was not expecting it to go that well. I was expecting this to be a lot slower. I'm going to run a few more performance benchmarks and I'll come back to you in a minute. All right, going to run the good old disk speed test. I have this set up to target 1 gigabyte file sizes on the share. So let's hit start on there. It's given me similar results, 800 to 900 megabytes per second, and we're seeing that popping up in here in the graphs. I was looking at some of the disk stats, and the temperatures on the drives didn't seem to be bad either. All of them were around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, which is perfectly fine and acceptable. And if we go over to CPU, you can see that the CPUs got hot, and they probably did hit lower limits of thermal throttling, but the fan ramped up and kept them from doing too bad. If you ran this thing 24/7 doing this kind of test from multiple computers, yeah, you're probably going to thermal throttle on this thing. But like even doing this, switching from read to write on 1 GB files, I don't think this is going to reach like the hard throttle limit, which is like 95 degrees. So thermals are fine on here. You could also adjust the fan speeds and ramp them up sooner to keep that more controlled if you want. But I'm okay with it getting a little hotter under heavy load for a home lab scenario. And as a final test, I will copy back the 190 GB folder and see if we can sustain over 1 GB per second continuously using that 10 gigabit connection. It's pretty rock solid here. And as we bring it to a close, my HVAC system just turned on, but here it goes. A little dip towards the end there, probably hitting some small files. And done. Look at that. Not too shabby. Interestingly, as I was going to close this thing out, I looked on Amazon. It's $3.99, so that's not a bad price for this. $4.29 if you buy it direct from their website, or $3.99 here. If that's the long-term price for this thing, I think that that's a decent value if you know what you want. And you know, you're going to be spending more money on the M.2 SSDs than on the box anyway. And if you DIY your own solution, yeah, you can build it for less, especially if you buy used hardware. But if you want a turnkey NAS that can do 10 gigabit speeds, this is pretty good, pretty good price and pretty good hardware. It's not the best thing ever, but it's far, far, far from the worst. So the final verdict from me: this thing is it's expensive, but it's worth the price if you need an all-flash NAS that can actually perform at 10 gigabits and can fit inside a mini rack, which I don't know why other ones are made in ways that won't fit, but I guess part of that is manufacturers don't see the value in it quite yet, but we're getting there. And I did have the little flag up at the beginning of this video, but this was sent for testing, and so I did not pay for this. So take everything I say in this video with a grain of salt, because if you're not actually putting down $400 for one of these things, how valuable is your discussion about value? Well, that's a good question, and you can debate that in the comments. But this thing is seriously impressing me, especially when I stack it up against the other mini NASes that I've been testing, which, you know, none of those are perfectly ideal for a mini rack, and they all had little problems that kind of put me off of them. This one, I was expecting it to have similar problems, and it just didn't, at least not yet. If I have problems with it, I'll give you an update, and I will be covering this more in my mini lab once I get that thing going. But yeah, there you go, Level 2 Jeff, signing off.